Hello from the other side. Welcome to Total Disclosure. My name is Ty, and I am the host and creator of the show. I want to start off by saying thank you to every single person listening and watching on your chosen platform. Remember to go above and beyond by following and rating the show. It's free, and it tremendously helps us with getting to new audiences and helping with our algorithm. You can also help support the show by joining our membership on either Anchor or YouTube. For as low as the price of a cup of joe every month, you could be listening to ad-free content, gaining early access, and getting a yearly gift. Making the show is a passion, however, it isn't cheap. And this is how we keep the show free for you, the listener. Thank you in advance. Now let's get the party started.
Blanket statement to cover the entire UFO phenomenon over the past 20 years.
Hey guys, welcome back to Total Disclosure. As you can see, I am in a new location, so forgive me. Right now, this is just the temporary setup, but we had to do the show. We had to do the show. There's so much to talk about with the David Grusch story that I think it would be detrimental for us not to gather together and get some good minds together and just kind of hash this out with the audience's assistance as well. We're going to be multicasted to Tom's channel, to my channel, to our Facebook group. So let's get the party started. As always, joining me, my best bud and co-host is Tom, aka Cortex Zero. What's up, man?
Oh, dude, what's going on? Obviously, I'm in a different location too, and I'm so
happy. We're both in that
similar
kind of position.
Life is good right now, though, man. A lot of stress off my shoulders, a lot of good things happening right now, and then this week, I've got a lot to say. I'm just gonna let you know,
I'm in a luxury like high rise. So I mean, you guys can't see it yet, but when I'm done, you will be able to. My background will be the windows of the Cambridge skyline. So it's going to be really cool once I get it all set up. And I can't wait for that. Yeah. But let's introduce our guest, if you will, for the evening. And that's Alien Girl, who we've been talking about having on for quite some time. But you bring a different version of the show, not different version of the show, but different mentality to the show than what we usually have. So I'm very excited to see what you have to say.
Yes, thank you so much for letting me come on the show. I'm super excited to be invited here. I love what you guys are doing. I've been watching multiple of your episodes. So I'm just really excited to sit down, throw down, and talk about some stuff with some intelligent people who, we have fun, we got respect, and we've got really great points and great research skills. It's really exciting when you can get together with people who know exactly what they're talking about. I'm excited to learn from you guys. I'm excited to dive deep. Thank you so much for letting me be here. It's totally an honor.
Yeah, we're fantastic. I think this is the most platforms we've ever streamed across of, if I'm not mistaken. So I hope we get people from all walks of life, because I think this story is so important that it has to be talked about by every single person who talks about this stuff, because if it isn't, your general, because in this whole part about the Washington Post. So I don't know if you guys remember, but about a week or two back, we were asked not to do a show, and we didn't, because we had this information and we were going to run with it. We were going to run with it because the names are out there. And the David Grusch name had come out by a lawyer, Danny Sheehan, and we were asked not to do that. and we said yes. That's fine. We'll do like whatever. We brought you a old vet symposium on, and we had a nice time in the grand scheme of things. But tonight we finally get to have that discussion about David Grusch, and I mean this explosive article that came from the Debrief originally was going to be a Washington Post story, but they were taking too long, and there was pressure mounting from the side of David Grusch and his lawyer to get the story out there so that he was protected. Also, there's an 7 hours of footage of Ross Coulthart sitting down with this guy and basically, asking him we all know Ross. Ross is one of the best out there when it comes to minds, investigative minds in this topic. So to have him on this and to have him being the one to interview David Grusch for that long a period, I think lends such a credence to the fact that this guy could potentially change the fucking world.
Amen
This is
to that.
this is what we're looking at. We're looking at the change the world moment.
Yep.
If done correctly.
That's it. This
What
is
does
the
it
tipping
feel?
point.
So what does that feel like to you guys? I mean, I just want to know, what does that feel like? Because we're on the precipice of true greatness.
Alien Girl, why don't you take that since you're our honorary guest and we've been waiting for such a long time to have you on? I'd love to hear what you have to say about this.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. Yes, I think we are at the precipice. I think something's about to push through. Do we know when it's going to happen? How it's going to happen? I think so. And I think right now, these 3 days, these 4 days ahead of us, next week, we're going to know something totally different going on. So,
Well, who's to say that next week we don't know, the whole? I mean, so for anyone who doesn't know, tomorrow, an hour of that 7-hour interview is going to air on NewsNation. Now,
Tomorrow's big.
tomorrow's going to be huge, and our podcast is going to come out, and then we'll have something to talk about for next week. So
Oh, yeah.
next week we're going to be having, right now we're just having the principal and general conversation from the clips that we've seen, right? And the debrief article, which I'm trying to bring up, but I can't.
I have it.
Can you just link
I'm
it in the
gonna try
private
to
chat?
Oh,
Link
yeah,
it in the private
yeah.
chat, and I'll bring it up.
Gotcha. I got everything. And I
Um,
also have the other article that I think
The
we should
art,
look at.
yeah. So we're going to be talking about a lot tonight, guys, but most of it's going to focus on David Grusch and that story. But also, I mean, guys, while that's all happening, all of a sudden we're hearing stories about a UFO crash landing in Las Vegas. Now I've dug further into it, and I truly believe it to be a hoax now. But at first, you're hearing, you're seeing body cam footage, and you're hearing a 911 call. You're like, holy shit, this is like legit. Come to find out, the kid runs an alien channel on YouTube. Like, of all, come on, man.
actually, there's a story behind that. Actually, he posted that video right after the Las Vegas local news station came out with the segment. He posted it right after. I went on to it when he had 100. You guys, this is gonna hurt so bad. You ready to hear pain? This is pain. So within 24 hours, I went on there. I found it. Somebody had sent the video to me, and he had like under 100. Like, I was like, oh, it's a new kid on the block. It's a new kid on the alien block. 100 subscribers.
Now
And I was
he
like,
had 100
in my mind,
subscribers?
and
He
in
has
my little
6 point something now.
Yeah,
I
he's
know
got more than us.
this was that morning, and like a couple of our friends had commented, like people we know, right? We're like, this is great, this is crazy. I was like, it's a new kid on the block, right? Maybe he'll come on my show and talk about his aliens in the backyard, right? 12 hours go later, the kid has 3,000 subscribers. 24 hours later, the kid has 6,000. He monetized. I did the math on another show yesterday with Strange Recon Jeff, and
he monetized in one day.
Yeah, he got 33,000 watch hours.
Yeah,
6,000 subscribers.
He went viral.
It's not going any further, though. Everyone's gonna know he's a bullshitter.
But
That's it.
everybody now knows that he's a bullshitter, and his story, it's gonna be one of those ones that like fizzles out. And yeah, he might, dude, if he wanted to be serious about this subject and really run a channel and try to be successful, like look at all of us, like we started. Right? You can do it, but you have to do it the right way. That's not the right way to do it. What that does is that gives you a Hollywood minute, And guess what? Those Hollywood minutes, they are truly a minute. Because today, nobody gives a fuck.
And it's not only that, but it serves sadly to, in the minds of some, discredit Grusch's testimony. Like this is like the worst possible time for some teenager out in the Midwest to do this. Like literally,
Well, yeah,
everybody needs to stop paying attention to that
coming
story.
from that aspect, yeah, you're absolutely right. Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
I mean, don't let it get in your head. Honestly, don't, because they're
Well,
not related at all.
Well, the thing is like, at first I thought, holy shit, could we have not only a whistleblower coming out, but then something like this happened? All in, like, imagine what that kid happened. Imagine what it was real. I mean, talk about blow the doors off it, right? That would
have been wild.
That would have
It
been
was
wild
real.
if he had more credibility. If
Right.
only.
It was for a little bit. It felt like it could have been real. For
I think
like
what happened was a meteor. Like the time
it was a
perfect.
fireball.
Right, there really was something. I saw a video clip of it.
It was a
He took
fireball.
advantage at a perfect moment, a perfect storm.
Yeah. He saw a fireball and he was like, oh, because I've seen a fireball. I saw a fireball once. And
Me too.
You know, and I was with my husband, so I wasn't alone. And we go and there's like this giant asteroid. Like I thought the world was gonna end. I looked at him, he looked at me, and I was like, sweetie, it's been good. Like I literally said
You literally
that,
did the last like,
because that's how
last
scary
prayer.
the fireballs. Yeah, we didn't have time. It was coming right at us. And I was like, it's the end. I was like,
was it green like mine? Because mine was green.
Mine was like a reddish orange, but yours was
That's
green.
still really cool. Yeah, mine was green. It was right here in the backyard. It was real brief. It was for like 3 seconds. Came across the sky in the backyard, but the tail and like the body were like this beautiful like bluish green, almost like the colors like that I use on my YouTube channel. And I'm like, wow. Like I knew what it was immediately, but I was just like, oh my god, like look at the color on that. It was really wild.
That's insane.
Yeah, they're
So,
huge. They're huge.
So guys, let's I'm gonna start by reading a little bit of, about this article. Ready? So it starts off by a former intelligence official turned whistleblower has given Congress and the intelligence community Inspector General extensive classified information about deeply covert programs that he says possesses retrieved, intact, and partially intact craft of non-human. Let's say that again, non-human origin. The information, he says, has been illegally withheld from Congress, and he filed a complaint alleging that he suffered illegal retaliation for his confidential disclosures reported here for the first time on the debrief. Other intelligence officials, both active and retired, with knowledge of these programs through their work in various agencies, have independently provided similar corroborating information both on and off the record. The whistleblower, David Grusch, 36, a decorated former combat officer in Afghanistan, a veteran of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, or NGA, and of the NRO, the National Reconnaissance Office. This guy literally hand-delivered the president his briefing every morning. That's who this guy was. He served as the Reconnaissance Office's representative to the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force from 2019 to 2021. From late 2021 to 2022, he was in the NGA's co-lead for UAP analysis and its representative task force. This obviously goes on to talk more about the claims that he is making, but let's just start at the crash retrieval. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but Gary Nolan a while back said the next shoe to drop was going to be the crash retrieval.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden, what's dropping? Crash retrieval. So I think Gary Nolan knows a lot more about what's going on behind the scenes than he is letting on.
He's plugged in, and he can only say so much.
He's very plugged in, because he said that this was going to be the next thing to drop. Now, obviously, this whistleblower or witness, whatever you want to call him at this point, this guy is making some claims. Now, the debrief didn't run with over half the story because they didn't want to get into anything that wasn't nuts and bolts. But in the
Right.
Ross Coulthart interview, we start talking about pilots. We start talking about beings that the government may or may not have still. I mean, so guys, we're talking the whole shebang here. But the only thing I will say is this is all secondary information. Now, David Grusch has not actually seen anything. He has given top secret documentation to support his claim to the IG and all that, and for the Donder process. But for the most part, what he is saying is totally unbacked. Only by his credentials is he being taken seriously.
Gosh,
So,
isn't
what
that
do you guys think
fascinating?
of that?
I think it's
Oh, go
credentials.
ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I just all fired up about it because there's just so much going on. I think the credentials go a long way. I do think so. I think having those high level, that's what's getting people to even have him go on these big shows. But you know, I don't know. Like you were saying, there's no evidence that he's presenting for one. So there's a lot of excitement about him coming onto the world stage to tell everybody that the aliens and the bodies are here. However, from what I've noticed is a lot of the people who aren't interested in this topic are semi taking it seriously, and they you know, people are we've got the politicians now, they're briefly discussing doing
hearings
yes
because of
on
this.
crash retrievals.
Here's
On
the thing:
crash
we're missing
retrievals.
something huge. A lot of people are missing something huge. Like, it needs to be made very clear that David Grusch provided to this private congressional committee names, including people that are working in these programs, the heads of the programs, the name of the program, locations, dates, and I've heard
He told them where to go, how to
photographs,
find it, and
so
what
when he
doorknob
says
to turn.
right, but when he says he hasn't seen anything, he means in person. He has photographs that he presented to the IG, and he has footage that he's presented to the IG. I have heard that from multiple sources that I trust. I've seen it in a few places, and I think tomorrow we may hear more about that.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully tomorrow we do.
Because no evidence thing doesn't fly. He has presented evidence to the IG.
So where did you see it besides people you heard from?
So the things that he like, a lot of what he shared to the IG, it was like there were certain portions of his testimony that were approved for public release by the DOD, and then there are the portions that weren't. The IG says we are taking this seriously. We view this as credible, and we view it as urgent. They're not going to waste their time saying any of that if there wasn't something to this.
What
he
concerns
presented.
me,
Go ahead.
What concerns me is that in the process that you have to get through the Donder, whatever I think it's called the Donder process.
It's something like that, yeah.
For them to say, okay, David, go tell your story about aliens, crash retrieval, bodies, you name it, right? For them to just say, okay, by them saying, go tell your story, that means that it's unclassified. So that's exactly what that means. Yes, it is.
Under these, so it gets a little fuzzy. Because of these new laws that were just made, it now creates
but their job at Donder is to protect
area.
National security.
Right.
This is the highest top security.
It's the biggest secret ever.
You're not going to just let him go out and talk about it.
Here's the DOD.
Is he doing it illegally?
No. I'm going to tell you how this was explained to me. So, let's say the DOD didn't approve his public information for release. Let's say they had denied him, and they're like, "You can't go talk to Ross." Well, then that begins a chain of events under these new laws that were just put into place by President Biden to protect these witnesses, where you would have this very public back and forth. Bryce Zabel and Ross Coulthart explained how this whole thing works on their podcast. Shout out to them, of course. I love both of them. And it doesn't do the DoD any favors to be like, no. All the way these laws were put into place and the way that they're structured, there's no escape, right? So it's like you either let them tell their damn story or you don't, and you now get made to look like liars, because this is the same Pentagon that said Lou wasn't the head of the ATIP program. Their credibility is gone. So now they have no ammunition left. These laws are so rock solid. It's like, okay, look, you either let the guy talk or you don't, and the shit is still going to get out. Like, this is a different era now. Plus, there's still a tug of war going on. It's still a seesaw where there's these Collins elite types that want us to stay away from this because they think they're demons and whatnot. No disrespect to anybody that believes that, because I can't prove or disprove what they are. But there are now new people in new positions where doors weren't open before. Now they are. This is a completely different game we're playing now. Like, the way that we would look at this in the past, these new laws change the entire playing field. It's very different. This is big.
Oh, 100%. 100%. It is coming out right now. It's happening right now. So whatever's going on in my heart of hearts, I know they have that craft. I know they have it.
Yeah,
I
think do. I don't doubt it for a minute.
I think Steve Bassett and John Ramirez, they are going to be owed some credibility points, because their predictions for summertime and, before the presidential election disclosure, like capital D disclosure, I honestly, at this point, like, when they were just saying it, I was like, oh, I fucking hate dates. But now I'm like, oh my God, this is going to happen.
It's a little different now. It's not
this
like
is going to happen.
The way we react to all these things has completely changed. And let's not forget too, there's 7 hours, right, of this interview with Coulthart, but he provided Grusch provided 11 hours of testimony to this private congressional committee. Now, based on the episode of Coulthart and Zabel's podcast that I watched just from a few days ago, this episode had dropped right before the article came out. So it's not just non-human intelligence. He's like, Coulthart said, there is a lot more to this story that is simply going to piss so many people off. He said he is fully confident that not only are people going to prison, but that if the mainstream legacy media doesn't cover this, we may as well declare the United States as a democracy dead, and essentially classify ourselves as an authoritarian state. Like, I've never heard him talk like that before. There was something that Coulthart heard from Grusch that really pissed him off. But what was more striking to me was that he also said, and this is a direct quote, "I'm scared." There was something Grusch shared with Coulthart that scared him.
So I want to play the clip of the NewsNation.
Oh my gosh, that gave me chills.
I want to play the clip of the initial report. So I think we should do that real quick.
Definitely.
Let me just get that up there. Because I mean, when it came out, I was just like, I mean, this is it.
Yeah, it is.
This guy's legit. This guy.
I sent it to everybody I know.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Can you hear it?
That's nice. Were they nice about it when you sent it to them?
Yeah, a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, Tom, you've been talking about this for years," and I'm like, "Thank you."
That's cool. I wish I had people like that saying that. I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's not about me being right either. It's just like, let's just at least be open-minded enough. Open-minded enough. Yeah,
you guys hear that?
The audio's coming through for me, Ty. Yeah, I think we're good to go.
Bombshell claims from a military whistleblower. UFO wreckage recovered by the U.S. kept classified by a secret government program for decades. Tonight, a world television exclusive you will only see on NewsNation. Welcome to Elizabeth Vargas Reports, earning your trust every night. UFOs exist. The U.S. government found quite a number of them, and they are indeed of non-human origin. Those are the explosive allegations from a former intelligence officer tonight in a whistleblower complaint that the Inspector General is taking very seriously. 36-year-old Air Force veteran David Grusch is exposing what he calls a top-secret military program that has reportedly found wreckage of fully intact UFOs. The government now calls them UAPs, or unidentified anomalous phenomena. For years, there have been whispers and rumors that the government had aircraft of non-human origin. This report is the first evidence it might be true. The Inspector General has called Grusch's complaint urgent and credible. Tonight, we have a World Television exclusive interview with the whistleblower in which he claims we not only have the aircraft, but the government has been keeping much of its secret from Congress and from the public. NewsNation senior national correspondent Brian Enton is here with the story, and this is a blockbuster.
It is a blockbuster. It's really hard to wrap your mind around this. I've been working on this for the past couple of weeks. I'm still having a hard time processing all of it. Over the last couple of years, it sort of became mainstream to discuss UFOs. The government has released videos. They've acknowledged that we don't know what some of this stuff is out there that we have on camera, but this really takes it all to another level. For the very first time, the world is about to hear from a former high-level U.S. intelligence officer who says the government has some of the unidentified craft in its possession. He is revealing these exclusive details about the secret government program.
We're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow.
We have all seen these blurry videos of unidentified flying objects. Video evidence, if you will, that old tales of UFOs may not all be conspiracy theories. In recent years, Congress starting an official U.S. government Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, recently renamed the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO. And now in a NewsNation exclusive, David Grusch, an Air Force veteran, former member of that task force, and veteran of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, is formally blowing the whistle on secrets he says no one has ever shared publicly before.
You are one of the most trusted former intelligence officials in the US defense and intelligence establishment.
Yes, I was.
You were trusted with the most intimate secrets.
Yes.
Grusch sitting down with award-winning investigative journalist Ross Coulthart, who's reporting for NewsNation and has spent years reporting on the UFO question.
What conclusion did you come to at the end of your time on the UAP task force?
The UAP task force was refused access to a broad crash retrieval program.
When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean?
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will, non-human, exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
You're kidding.
No.
I mean, this is unbelievable.
I thought it was totally nuts, and I thought at first I was being deceived. It was a ruse. People started confiding in me. They approached me. I have plenty of current former senior intelligence officers that came to me, many of which I knew almost my whole career,
look back and
that confided in me. They were a part of a program. They named the program. I've never heard of it. And they told me, based on their oral testimony, and they provided me documents and other proof, that there was, in fact, a program that the UAP task force was not read into.
Grusch alleges the U.S. government has recovered non-human craft for decades. He's filed a whistleblower complaint saying he gave what he calls the classified proof to Congress and the intelligence community inspector general. NewsNation has confirmed David Grusch's credentials and resume. We've not seen or verified the alleged proof he says he's provided to investigators. He says he can't show us the proof for national security reasons.
Always.
He also tells us he's not seen photos of the alleged craft himself, but has talked extensively with other intelligence officials who have.
If you're right, if you're telling us the truth, everyone, the entire American public, has been lied to for decades.
Yeah, there's a sophisticated disinformation campaign targeting the U.S. populace, which is extremely unethical and immoral.
You are saying to the human race, for the first time, an official intelligence representative at a high level from the US government is saying publicly, we are not alone.
We're definitely not alone. Absolutely, the data points empirically that we're not alone. Yeah.
Do we have bodies? Do we have species?
This is where it gets insane.
Well, naturally,
This
when
is
you
where it
recover
gets
something that's
insane.
either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead pilots. And believe it or not, as fantastical as that sounds,
Oh, I was in 480p.
it's true.
It's also harder for people to wrap their minds around the concept of a crashed object from somewhere else. It's easier to accept that, yeah, we see things in the sky that we can't explain.
Journalist Leslie Keane broke Grusch's whistleblower story this morning in the debrief. Ms. Kane's career has been mainstream
That's
and
the
credible,
article we just had
having
up,
written
guys.
a series of reports on UFOs in the New York Times dating back to 2017.
So Leslie
he has the
Keane
credentials, but there's no documents
and Ralph
that he's handed
Blumenthal
over.
wrote
There's
that
no
article.
pictures. And as a
The
journalist,
Debrief.
you want to see documents, you want to see pictures. Does that raise a red flag?
Not at all, Brian. I mean, you mean documents that actually describe the craft?
Correct. Yeah, like government documents, or to be able to see it for ourselves.
Of course. Don't we all want that? And the problem with that is all of that information is classified. You know, as we said in the story, everything that Grusch told Congress and told the Inspector General of both the IC, the Intelligence Community Inspector General, and the Department of Defense Inspector General, all of that information is classified.
In 2017, Keane reported exclusively in the New York Times that the Pentagon had a secret UFO program. 3 years later, the Pentagon confirmed her story. Her latest report is even more explosive, but Keane says she has multiple sources who back up Grusch's story.
I believe it because of all the sources I have who have told me the same thing. So who am I to doubt these very, very high-level
Wow.
people who have been
Wow.
inside these programs
Leslie's
for decades,
credible herself.
have done their work, and are all telling me the same thing. I mean, I don't think there's some kind of conspiracy among all these people who don't know each other to make something like this up.
So I've got to be blunt about this. You're not making this up. This is not a lie.
No,
I love how he
absolutely
straight
not.
up asks him.
I know, that's the best part.
No!
23,
And I like his response, no.
Is not with physical.
Not at all.
I want to point something out. I don't know
Because
because
everybody-
this is pretty recent, but there was and I don't remember the gentleman's name, but there is apparently he's a very well-known body language expert that took a look at this and was really blunt about what he observed. And he said, this is a guy who is not only telling the truth, but he's holding back a lot that he wishes he could say.
Wow.
I
Now,
found that very telling.
Who said that?
It was a body language examiner. God, what the hell? I got here. I'll find his name. Let's see. Grusch body.
The body language seems a lot more on point with this person compared to other people I've found less believable.
His name is, I believe, Dr. G.
Okay.
He's Dr. G Explains on YouTube. And he says that this guy is very, very stressed out, nervous, but he's also being truthful, and he is also holding back a lot that he wishes he could say. Like stuff that he probably told the IG that they were like, you can say this, but you can't say this.
Yeah, and I'm sure that, you know, he was vetted, like, you know, if they did their due diligence, you know, okay, you can talk about this, but you can only go to here. You can talk about this, but you can only go to this point of this point of
Correct.
this point of that point. It's a lot for a person. So I'm sure he's holding back a lot.
It's so
There's no
completely
choice.
unbelievable too. I just think, like you're saying, like, oh, this is a moment in history, right? And it totally is. And that's why I love doing the podcast and talking about the aliens, is because right now this is a huge moment in history. It's a culmination of years and years and years of studying this. And when I look at his body language, I think the one thing that really stands true to me is he's not smirking.
No, he's
you
taking this
know,
legitimately.
like he's not joking. I mean, he's being very clear. He's very specific. You know,
This
and
is
like
actually a
he
good
even has
question.
That's a good
I wonder if
question.
he
Did
has
he take
taken a
I would
I w-
love
I
to
would love,
know.
yeah, I would love to know that actually.
But, you know, again, it's still a machine and everything. I you know what? I just want to say too that for like as I was watching him, there was something like in his eyes for me that was just like, there's a lot here. Like there's a story here that this guy has, that he is basically, as crazy as it all sounds, he's only giving us like a basic synopsis of it. I mean, think about really like you know, and I don't mean to get super deep here, but think about every Lonnie Zamora, right?
Yeah.
Every person since over the last 90 years that had an experience of an extraordinary nature that was ridiculed, or they had to move out of town, they lost their job, they were called a liar. Think about how many people had their careers, their lives smashed, crushed, burnt out, actually. How many
like
people
Niles
have been
guy says-
killed to protect this?
Like Niles guy says, what does Grusch actually have to gain by lying? Actually, he could face prison time if he's lying.
Right, if he's just making this up, this dude would go. I mean, like that's another thing you
He
got to think
could
about.
face prison time.
This is
And
a
why
man
wouldn't
who was
he, if we're talking
delivering
about
briefings
aliens?
to the president. Like, this guy has been vetted. I have a friend who lived across the street from me that all he does is basically sit in an office all day and watch Netflix until he has to buzz somebody in, and he has a federal job. The FBI showed up at my house. This kid lives in Virginia. And the FBI showed up at my house to ask about him, his character, and like what I knew of him, because I went to high school with him and I grew up with him, and that was for that job. What do you think they put this guy through to get his job, and he's out telling this story? Like, people don't realize who this guy really is. He was delivering briefings to the president. Like, we need credible whistleblowers and legitimate witnesses. This is as good as you are going to get. Like,
this is the best
literally.
witness. This is the witness. That's why I labeled this show a whistleblower that could change the world. This guy, David Grusch, could change the world overnight.
He has, I believe.
Why isn't it being covered more, guys? Why isn't this on every headline mainstream media?
Because mainstream media doesn't think that there was due diligence done in vetting the story more. They want more. They want more documentation and proof, and that will come. That will come, and they're gonna be sorry. I promise you. The mainstream media is gonna be sorry that they didn't jump on this sooner. We were tagging. I sent this to my contact, Mary, from Channel 5, who I've worked with her several times when I used to do the pop culture show. Because there'd be films that, you know, there'd be being filmed in Boston, and I'd coordinate with her. I'd go there, I'd get footage, but I'd send it to her so she could use it on air as well if she needed to. You know, we had a good relationship. She wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole, she said.
That's amazing. That blows my mind, and it's
that's what she told me. A reporter for Channel 5 Boston told me she wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole, and this is Leslie Keane. Leslie Keane's article. Leslie started in Boston.
Why not pick it up? Why not pick up the story?
It's the leftover stigma. The stigma.
What is the stigma? I don't understand it anymore.
It's right, and I don't get what the hell the point is. It's this Little Green Men X-Files bullshit, and it's like enough of this already. Start being mature. And I want to say this too while we're on that topic. Shout out to NewsNation.
Yeah.
Honestly, you know why NewsNation released this? Because legacy media fucking sucks. And they do.
Well,
assholes who want to control the narrative. It's all about, oh, what did Trump do today? And Biden fell down the steps. Bunch of pussies, man. Honestly.
But
focusing on the wrong things.
NewsNation also saw this as an opportunity to boast themselves. So and I'm glad they did. Of course, this is an opportunity for NewsNation. If NewsNation wasn't doing it, some other news thing, the next one would have been chosen. But NewsNation, they are up and coming. They do their shit seriously. They're actually news. It's not like Fox News where it's
right.
Like,
it's not.
It's
it doesn't seem
politicized.
political, right? Exactly. It's like what CNN was in like the late '80s, early '90s when it was more respectable. It's like.
So I'm glad that NewsNation was chosen.
It this way. Coulthart said it himself. He said this is also meant to be an indictment
Well,
of the way mainstream media has become.
People, it's because the people at the Washington Post, at the New York Times, they don't want to lose their access to the Pentagon, their Pentagon spokesperson. That relationship that you gain, they don't want to lose that. Now, say they take a risk and they run this story, and it turns out it's all fake. Now they've jeopardized not only their reputation as a brand, but they've blown it with the Pentagon and all that, because they've jeopardized national security by sorry, I can't speak. Perpetuating the story. Now, I see why mainstream media is holding off. The Washington Post, the only reason the Washington Post did not get this story from Leslie and Ralph is because they were taking too long, and it already started to leak, like via our show was one, not, we didn't leak it, we didn't talk about it, but we had the information and we were ready to go with it, and got asked to stop at the last minute, and we did. We said, okay, let's let this come out the right way. Perpetuating. Thank you.
And to be fair, we're not saying that like this was our story. What we're saying is that there was amazingly, somehow, some way,
it got
we
leaked
ended
by
up
in
a position where there weren't that many degrees of separation between ourselves and the story. And it was wild because I'm at work and I'm like, what is happening? Like,
and
then this happens and I'm like, oh, okay. It all sunk in for me. I'm like, okay, because I had a feeling all the people that they're contacting me, you, Astral,
telling us, hey,
Vet,
don't run this story.
There were people that I really
This
liked.
story.
I was getting phone calls.
Yeah. So we did
phone
it.
calls over it.
Yeah. And,
no idea. I was like, how did you get my number?
So we didn't, and you know what? I'm glad. So let's continue this.
Me too.
This is we're 8 minutes into a 12-minute clip.
Let's do it.
Watching this right now is looking at your face. They're going, is this guy for real?
I'm going to bring it back a little bit.
I am for real.
Just so we can catch
it.
what they're saying.
Absolutely not.
Oh, come on.
Hey guys, welcome to Forward. We're a new type of doctor's office that's
Unbelievable.
Strongly disagree.
Strongly disagree.
Because everybody watching this right now is looking at your face.
My dog just
They're going, is this guy for real?
I am for real. And I'm sitting here at great personal risk and obvious professional risk talking to you today.
And just within the last 10 minutes or so, the Pentagon has released a statement to NewsNation about this report. They say to date, AARO has not discovered any verifiable information to substantiate claims that any programs regarding the possession or reverse engineering of extraterrestrial materials have existed in the past or exist currently. AARO is committed to following the data and its investigation wherever it leads. AARO, working with the Office of the General Counsel and the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, has established a safe and secure process for individuals to come forward with information to aid AARO in its congressionally mandated historical review. AARO's historical review of records and testimonies is ongoing and due to Congress by June 2024, and AARO welcomes the opportunity to speak with any former or current employee or contractor who believes they have information relevant to this historical review. And Elizabeth, we know that David Grusch, he's filed that whistleblower complaint. He's been on the record under oath testifying to many of these things that he said in our report tonight.
Right, and it's important to point out that this statement from the Pentagon from AARO, Grusch is alleging that this top secret program is keeping it a secret from AARO.
Yeah, exactly. And if Grusch is, what he's saying is true, the spokespeople, all of those folks at that level wouldn't even know this was going on anyway.
All right, I got to ask you, he has a compelling story to tell. Very little of it seems like firsthand knowledge. Isn't he just repeating what somebody else has told him or somebody else has showed him?
Yes, that is what he's doing. But he says he's talked to a number of people who are in very, very high level positions. He also had basically the highest level of classified material information that he was able to receive. We went back and checked over his history, all of his credentials, check out completely. Unfortunately, there's
in addition, a couple people have come forward publicly to vouch for him, people who are high ranking.
They have. And this article first came out this morning, and I think it's interesting that, there hasn't been any sort of effort to to discredit what he has said either from the Defense Department.
So interesting. So what happens, and have we had any reaction, by the way, from members of Congress who have been taking this seriously in the last couple of years? We've seen congressional hearings. We've seen NASA's hearing just about a week ago
Marco
on
Rubio,
UFOs or UAPs,
Senator
whatever
Gillibrand,
you
all
prefer to
taking it
call
very
them.
seriously.
We've seen the DNI give
As
a
they
briefing
should.
to the White House on this. We've been hearing whispers and rumors for years. I remember even former President Trump, when he was in office, sort of saying, "Oh my gosh, if you knew what I knew about UFOs."
Yeah.
So there's always
This is
been
what I
this
like
intrigue.
about this news channel.
There has, and think about it, Elizabeth. If you
Yeah,
go
it's
back
not
15 or 20 years, if we were
stigmatic.
sitting here talking about UFOs, people would think that we were nutty.
Well,
now it's gotten to
people
the
look
level
dumb
of
if they
where it
don't
is
question
somewhat
it now, I
accepted
think.
because the government has come
I
forward
can't wait
to
to
a
talk
certain extent
about
and acknowledge
how
that
Greer
there are
inserted
these
himself
videos
into
that
the
exist, and
narrative.
maybe has released the videos
Well, maybe
themselves and said,
I hope
we're not
I
sure
hope his
exactly
event adds
what
something.
this is that we're seeing. Of course, what Grusch is
think
saying
it will.
really just sort of takes it to the next
hope
level.
so.
Boy, it sure does. It's almost impossible to believe. All right, Brian Nenton, thanks so much.
Thank you for watching.
Thank
Go
you,
to
Brian.
newsnationnow.com to find News
Thank
Nation
you,
on your
News
television.
Nation, for actually covering this like an actual news network. I honestly mean that.
Yeah,
That's a
honestly.
phenomenal
I was
clip.
very
That's a
impressed with the way
phenomenal
they handled
segment.
this story.
So
Tomorrow
there's
night's
more,
going to be crazy.
there's more,
Oh yeah.
more segments to play. Trust me.
So from what I understand, because it's 7 hours, they're splitting it up, and like I think like each week they're gonna play like another hour of it. At least that's what it sounded like.
Well, no. So after
Interesting.
no. After the hour, after the hour special debuts, the rights for the footage divert back to Ross Coulthart. So then he is going to release a 7-hour cut of the.
Okay.
I mean, he might take it to News 8, that he works with, and
As long
make
as
it
it
a
comes out.
make it a documentary, a 2-part documentary. Who knows? But the rest of it will come out from Ross himself.
Good, and he did. I mean, because he's done the work on this. Bryce had a big hand in it. Then this has
Yeah, they
been
did it at
in
Bryce's
the works for over a
house.
year. Right, exactly. This has been in the works for over a year, and like huge shout out to Ross Coulthart for like just not giving a damn about what anybody tells him. Oh, this is career suicide and all this nonsense. Like the same shit that people say to Gary Nolan. Like these are the people that I respect and look up to and really admire, because they go against the grain, and it's not just to do it, but it's because real progress on this planet in so many different areas has been made by those types of people. Honestly.
yeah.
So let's talk for a minute about Dr. Greer, because he has to be involved in everything, which I've said a million times. He comes out and he says, now he is having a conference, and he's calling it Disclosure 2.0,
Right.
because he said he mentored David Grusch, and David Grusch said that's bullshit. He said he never had any contact with Dr. Greer at all. And it's another attempt from Dr. Greer to insert himself into a storyline
Wait a second.
to make himself relevant.
Wait a second. Greer said that he mentored.
He mentored David because
Where did he say that?
He said it in some on his YouTube channel, or in a tweet. I can't remember which one, but he said he mentored David Grusch. But now David Grusch did go to Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp. He did go to them first before he went to Ross. But they decided, of all people, I'm so surprised, they decided they didn't want to do it. And they probably referred, now this was not said, this is speculation on my part, but I think that Corbell put him in touch with Coulthart.
So credit should be given
That's
there
a
too. That's really
possibility,
interesting
yeah.
that they would pass him off, which means that there must have been a real reason there.
I think they have other stuff they're working on, and they just don't think they could cover it to the extent that it should be covered. And I think Corbell, honestly, finally, Corbell and Knapp I've always respected, but Corbell, I think I respect them a little bit more for turning down this and giving it to Ross, because Ross has the ability to just ask the questions that need to be asked. Corbell and Knapp, I mean, they're going to take it a certain direction, and they're going to have an angle on it. No, Coulthart just wants the truth.
It's an interesting move.
Yeah, but
honestly,
they did, in my opinion, I think they passed up the story of a lifetime.
And you know what?
It is shocking. It is
okay.
shocking that Knapp and Corbell didn't take it. I found that to be incredibly fascinating. Why
It does show a red flag.
I think so. What's going and it also might, just be that people evolve and people change and they're not willing to take the risks that they were originally willing to take because they've already built themselves up, right?
You know,
like it's easier to be risky when you don't have a big following or a big name, right? But then you go take that risk and all these people follow you. And
my friend just made a good point, and he said, Coulthart isn't necessarily in the UFO community like George Knapp has been for years, and the way Jeremy Corbell is. So you bring in this more neutral third party being Coulthart. It makes sense, right? Is that my dog? I was just gonna say Jet was just in my lap.
Logan.
It's good for disclosure.
Yo, you know what? I wonder how animals. I wonder if animals like dogs are able to see UFOs at times that like we can't. You know what I mean? Like light spectrum wise. I've thought about that before.
Hey, who's this Mike guy who clearly hates you?
There was another troll in here. These are all accounts that were just made too. It's funny.
I'm putting him in timeout.
I think he created this because the other guy was Mike too.
Yeah. I'm a bearded man that throwing a tantrum while I'm smiling.
Why does he hate you so
You
much?
can come back in 5 minutes.
I don't know.
Please,
the other guy
in the chat, keep it respectful, please.
You don't have to agree with us. Obviously, I gotta be honest, dude. I don't even care.
Listen,
I really don't.
Marcelo throws out a good point. I hope the pilot who flew to Varginha really does come out and speak. Here in Brazil, the incident was ridiculed at the time it happened, but there are so many pieces of evidence that it really happened.
Absolutely.
Marcelo, I could not agree with you more. If that were to come out, if the pilot who flew the body who flew into Varginha and was never ask for permission to land, but was given authority to come on scene, and then took something away, presumably the body. If that person were to come out and speak, that is testimony that, I mean, that there it is, that we could link those stories together. That would be amazing, because Varginha happened. As far as I'm concerned.
Virginia happened. I'm on board with that. When they talk about the U.S. coming down and putting the alien in a steel box and flying it up and all these other different things, it really starts to make it come together. And I actually think it's interesting because, I do think George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell are trying to regain as much credibility as possible and also be at the front of ufology. Who doesn't want to be in the front of ufology if we're trying to do that? You know what I mean? So I thought it was interesting, especially with this new aliens in the backyard Las Vegas case that happened. Kind of like what's interesting about it is it was reported by George Knapp's local station. It was the same station that George Knapp worked at
but
in Las Vegas. Correct. I called the reporter and left a message to try to see if I could hear back from them. And it was funny because when I was talking to the news guy in early in the morning, because he was like, David comes later. And I was like, so was George on this, right? Like, I wanted to know what level of involvement George had in this. And he said, oh, no. George has been out. He hasn't been covering it. This isn't his piece. But when there was a follow-up segment, it was George. It wasn't David.
It was George. Yeah.
And so I thought that was interesting. And it was actually the follow-up of George Knapp on the aliens in Las Vegas backyard that made me lean more that it was a hoax. For one, these creatures that were in the backyard of this family's backyard, they were trying to get into a vehicle, like a tractor, and they were trying to engage the equipment, turn it on, like the aliens. This is something that was like reported. And so I heard that, and that sounds a little bit like a stretch. the fact that George Knapp came out and he literally shrugged at the end of the segment. He was like, I don't know. This is just what the police reported. Like, that's literally what he said. We covered it because the police covered it. You know, the kid did a brilliant job if you really look at it from a skeptical perspective. Maybe it didn't happen.
He showed like he even showed like or showed footage where you can hear a loud bang.
Yeah.
But but it could have been a meteorite, you know, a meteor. Who knows? They could have just taken it and ran with it, you know?
Could have been a firework. It's bullshit.
Yeah, which just it really sucks for timing wise.
You know, and again, that's why I really urge people to, you know, unless something were to change, which it's not going to, the story that you should, and I've been saying this, God, go back into our archive of episodes here. How many times did I say it, Ty, that the biggest story to be paying attention to and watching out for news for was the whistleblowers? I have been saying it over and over and over until I'm like red in the face, and here we are. Here we are.
I think we have something to look forward to on Monday. June 12th. This number has been hitting on my head for probably the last, I would say, people have been throwing this number at me, this date, for months now. And with just everything amounting to where it's coming, I just have this feeling. It's very exciting. I don't think we know what's going to happen next. And I think, like you're saying, I think that the whistleblowers are going to be the huge component of it. We've got them all coming out. We've got Fox News is a huge mainstream media organization that's been pumping out this UFO stuff like it's propaganda. I feel like every time I look up UFOs, it's a Fox News thing. I found so many things, and so I think it's interesting that
when it was Tucker, it was different. Because Tucker, like, actually took the topic seriously, in my opinion. I don't agree with him politically, but he took the actual subject seriously.
So, what do you think of Fox News's coverage of the current UFO stuff that's going down that they're putting out about?
I don't watch it. I don't watch it.
I was gonna say
it's the only stuff that's coming up when I look when I look for any mainstream organization covering it. The only one I find is Fox News. I check CNN, I check MSNBC, I check the rest. The only one that's covering it is Fox News, and that appears to me well. And also different people own different organizations of news stations and stuff, right? Because
I mean, think about how many companies own all of mainstream media at this point. So it's like it's two sides. Right. It's
Disney,
CNN, and Fox are two sides of the same coin.
Time Warner. Here, I'll look them up. There's only 5 top media companies.
Yeah.
But and they own all media and an umbrella effect.
Yeah, that's.
But I want to get back to the David Grusch stuff. So he's claiming that we have intact craft. Now, does that validate the Bob Lazar story? Or are we talking about craft hidden somewhere else? And, you know, could this go a long way to actually solving the Bob Lazar problem? I think that could be true.
I think yeah. I think it does. I think it does. I think there's double,
but he also
double
talks about
here.
He also talks about bodies. Like, is there literally like some place where we can go underground where, like, because David is told people that he's given them places, locations, names, where to go, how to find them, what doors to turn. Like, they could. If I was them, I wouldn't be wasting any time. I'd be going right to these places so they couldn't move anything or change anything. I'd go right to them and I'd be like, I want inside right now. Right, like, open the door now. And I'd go in. If there's bodies, I mean, obviously that's going to be, dealt with a certain way. But if there's craft that we're reverse engineering and we're 70 years advanced in medical science, or we could advance 70 years in medical science just because of reverse engineering being secret. That is a hindrance on the United States, but the world.
Oh yeah.
That's a hindrance on every human being. If we have technology that can regenerate skin cells, that can help with cancer, that can do any of that, good-hearted human beings need to get that to the common man
For everyone that's ever suffered from anything.
If any of that could be reverse engineered
That
by
kills me.
publication of these materials and these crafts, that should be done as advancing the human civilization thing, not for your personal pleasure and weaponry systems. Like, that's not, like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, for keeping that, it's disgusting. My dad's
Those
a
are
type
the
2 diabetic, and it's
those
like,
are
well,
the
what if he
people-
could have lived longer or something? I mean, he's still around, but
those are the people that need to be persecuted.
no, absolutely.
But I don't think we need to go in persecuting people, that played a little part, who didn't even know they were playing a part. They just worked for, those people aren't to blame. It's the people that covered this up.
100%.
But who covered it up specifically? What group of people? It's
a
been
lot of people are dead.
generations. There has to be a
I'm talking about
generational conspiracy of
Yeah.
70. You know what I mean? Like,
No,
this is
no, David says it's 90 years. 90
Yeah,
years
90
since the
years.
30s that it's been actively covered up. So those people need to be persecuted, but the people who just worked in special access programs that, were handed a material, and they're, they didn't know they were actually working on a UFO. Like, they just thought it was part of their process. Those aren't the people we're looking for. We're looking for the people who actively covered things up, went to crashes and told people they didn't see what they saw, and gave them money and pay them off and that kind of stuff. We see it with Virginia, where people start coming asking, hey, I'll give you money, don't talk. Could this Men in Black society be real?
I think it's true. I think the Bob Lazar story is true. I think what Grusch is saying to connect it is true. I think, and people like, I love Stephen Greer, actually, in my own opinion, said it best, because he was asked about what he thought about Bob Lazar, and he said, I don't think that Bob Lazar was old enough to get read into it. I think he was too young to be read into those kind of programs. But the Bob Lazar information is something that we plug into this matrix of information that we have, right? Everything out there, there's a tidbit here, there's something there. And after a while, especially after all these generations, all these years have passed, it's becoming a little bit apparent that there's a couple themes that are continuing on. Number one, the craft. Number two, the bodies. It comes up over and over and over. And I just think when these knocks happen, they start out small, like a little knock, right? And then it gets louder, and then it gets louder, and then it gets louder. And the more people you have on board, the more people who are less afraid to talk about this and just bring it out. Like, I just want us to bring this topic to so many people. This is like a really intrinsic interest that people have in this. So they do have the craft. I do think the Bob Lazar story is true. I just do not believe it happened to Bob Lazar. I think Bob Lazar was the fall guy for the scientist who actually worked at Los Alamos Labs. But I think that is in alignment with what's going on with Grusch. I think these craft are there. I think people are coming forward and they're like, all right, man, like, this other guy came out and said that he wrote an article, and he was on Fox News as well, talking about how we have 12 craft. We know that we have 12 craft. Okay, so this is coming out now too. And he said, I was encouraged because Grusch came out and said it. So there's a piece here everywhere, right? And I look for the consistencies. I look for the things that keep repeating over and over and over, right? Because when something's not real, I think the JFK files are actually the perfect example, right? Because it's a little conspiracy theory that starts in the beginning, right? And everybody in the 50s is like, oh, you're crazy. The JFK files are crazy, right? And then something come up and it gets a little stable. And then you have more people kind of like attacking the theory, like, oh, no, it's BS that way. The JFK getting shot by somebody else. No, but it gains traction. And over time, these conspiracy theories become stronger and stronger and stronger until one day they released the JFK files, and you realize that the Surgeon General agreed that it was impossible for two of these bullet holes to actually come from one gun and one person. And that's something that came out. Nobody cared. My biggest question for you guys is, like, what is your thoughts on how the general public is perceiving this information? What do you guys think about how they're responding to this? Are you happy with their response? Are you okay with it? How do you think they should be responding? And are they responding at all from both of your perspectives?
Take that one first, or I'll go.
No, you go.
So at this point, I try not to pay too much attention to the way that like maybe certain groups of people or types of people are reacting to anything that's going on right now, because I've been so laser focused on just the information. And I've been researching this for literally, I'm 33. I've been researching this for over 25 years of my life. I had my own experience, having a craft black triangle come right over me, and and it changed my life. And I was already obsessed with the topic. So the way I look at all of this right now is I'm not worried about how anybody's reacting to it, because eventually they're not going to have a choice but to acknowledge fact. You can't walk outside and tell me that the sky is green. You can't wake up and say, well, today I'm going to eat tinfoil and that's going to help me lose weight. There are certain things that we are able to observe in our daily lives in three-dimensional reality that we come to the agreement that it is factual. We are trending in the direction of non-human intelligence interacting with our species as being one of those things. People can react to this however they want. They can doubt it. They can believe it. And I respect everybody's opinions, because ultimately that's just the way I like to go about things. It kills me when very, very intelligent people completely push this away and say, no, I'm not even going to touch it. I think that's the one thing that does bother me, is when people aren't at least open-minded enough to be willing to have a conversation. That's the one thing that will bother me, and it doesn't matter who it comes from. But right now, I'm just more laser focused on the information that's coming out. And
Adam Silvestri gave a $1.99 super chat. Said, thank you for the work that you're doing, guys.
We appreciate you,
Adam. We do it for people like you guys. We do these shows for you. We have 30 in the chat right now.
That's great.
Across all platforms. So super happy about that. It's a little below the average, but I'm happy nonetheless, because the more people this story gets out to. We're going to play a clip here. This is Corbell, and I think this is crucial to play, because Corbell does talk about how he had the story and how he declined it. So let's watch this and dissect it.
Journalist and co-host of the Weaponized podcast, Jeremy Corbell. Jeremy, the whistleblower, David Grusch, is really making some extraordinary claims here. Why do you think people should take this seriously?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm glad that his account is now being heard. Mr. Grusch came to George Knapp and me first about 14 months ago, and he appeared to be the subject of reprisal. So we vetted him and held his account in confidence. We can say for sure Dave is who he says he is. He was in the position that he says that he was in. He had access to what he says he had access to. And by all accounts, Dave appears to be credible. So it would be reckless for us to not take his claims seriously. And his claims should be investigated by Arrow. Arrow must verify or disprove, that is their job, what Mr. Grusch is talking about. So I think everybody should look at this and understand it from the point of view that this is something we can now look at and have investigated. It is out, and he filed a classified complaint under oath. And the Intelligence Community Inspector General said that he found the complaint urgent and credible.
No worries, Billy.
How problematic is it that everything that David Grusch is saying here is not firsthand knowledge, that he himself didn't actually see these non-human craft?
I think it gives weight to a lot of the people that have come forward and talked about having direct firsthand experience. That should be investigated now, because people have come forward. And by the way, I mean, it's very courageous of Mr. Grusch
Sam
to
Williams,
come forward in this manner.
Super chat. This is an amazing
but there's a lot
podcast.
of people, whistleblowers, who have come forward to me and George Knapp and others, and they've told their accounts. So now, if it's true, this is something that can be and must be looked at by the mechanisms of government, and also the Whistleblower Protection Act that has been put forward in the National Defense Authorization Act. I mean, this is what it's for.
The Inspector General, as you noted, is taking this complaint of reprisals for going public seriously. Members of Congress are now asking today, and even just as recently as 10 minutes ago, giving a statement asking for more information, pledging to hold hearings. The public statements thus far from the Pentagon, however, are carefully worded that there is, quote, no verifiable information, no credible evidence of extraterrestrial life. They do not say it's not true.
Yeah, they actually, if you really look at their words, they say that they have not found that. And I think what is important about what Mr. Grusch is saying is that they now know where to look. And so I think that's the issue here. Look, this feels like an episode of Don't Look Up, you know, that movie. We have been telling you, people and reporters, investigators have been saying that this is a real issue, that we need to look at this. And so finally, Congress and Senate and legislation has been put in place. Well, now it's time. Now we're seeing that this is an issue that must be investigated.
The former Navy pilot Ryan Graves said last night on this show that pilots are still, to this day, today, this week, being discouraged from coming forward with evidence of UFOs, or UAPs as they're now called. Why is that? We've got Congress holding hearings for the first time in 50 years. NASA just held a hearing. Why are witnesses still feeling stigmatized when they step forward?
Because it is a topic that it produces stigma. But I'm going to tell you something that goes a step further, because it's true. What Ryan Graves said is accurate. It is also accurate that some pilots are being asked to scrub some data.
That is
why
so
that would
illegal.
be done. That is a big problem. Is it just stigma? Is it because people want to go on deployment and don't want to have to report this up the chain of command? As somebody that people come to, whistleblowers, witnesses, direct eyewitnesses, I can tell you that this stigma is corrosive to public trust and also just to looking at the facts.
Well, I hopefully we'll have some hearings in Congress and get more to the bottom of what those facts may be. Jeremy Corbell, thank you.
We will be seeing that.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Always great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for covering the topic.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnnow.com to find your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
We have to look at this as a process as opposed to an event. Like, I feel like what really is happening.
If you're spending 10 grand a month or more in YouTube ads.
It's just going to be event. And then once we get to that last one, we're going to look back at the others, add them all up, and it's like, oh, the basket's full now. Like, I don't think it's going to be this official announcement that a lot of us would like, where so-and-so comes up to the podium. I mean, do you really even want the president doing it, like, or any of these political figures? Like,
no, because people,
it's going to be different.
Half their constituents will believe them. Half their, half the aisle won't. Then, a third will question it. It's hard.
If they do have UFOs, aliens, why don't they just show them? Well, because there's a lot of people that are still involved with the secrecy and the programs, these gatekeepers that don't want that to happen. Some for decent reasons of security, while others feel that we, the public, are not worthy. Yeah, it's about power. There's money, there's greed, there's a lot of other things connected to this topic that these people are going to have to answer for. Yeah, the black market, God knows what's out there. I mean, it's because there's a lot of very powerful, very rich people that are probably connected to this. And it's just like the oil industry. It's been going on for a very long time and it's rusted. So now all that corrosion has to come off, and it's difficult because it's built up over time. But we've been chipping away at it since 2017. We finally got ourselves a tool. Hello to everybody. Thank you for being here. That's amazing. It's amazing.
They also need to make sure
how many people here.
that the people are ready.
Make sure to
right?
like, share, subscribe.
Right. No, that's
because I
absolutely
think
true.
if they jumped right into this, and if all of a sudden we were talking about, and I do think that the slow disclosure process has been going on for a long time, and I think people become aware of it, right? And then they start watching shows like this, or they start going to conferences, or they start doing these things, or just trying to get more into it. And I think it's really nice that we all get to be on this side. Because as it slowly discloses, because I just remember when Oumuamua went around the earth, and I woke up the next day and I saw on the TV that it went, and to me, I was like, oh my gosh, that's obviously an alien probe that just did a U-turn around the habitable zone, which, by the way, Avi Loeb I have quotes of Avi Loeb saying that, like, that's legitimate. That's not something I made up. But in that moment, even I was like, they just did a U-turn around the earth. Why would they do a U-turn around the earth? But the point being is that these slow disclosure moments happen slowly. And as you become part of the belief system, which it is, we are all believing in something that we don't even know exists, but we keep going at it. And it's also an indication. It's so fun to see people finally accept what you've already kind of learned, right? Like, I mean, I feel like 5 years ago, you guys, it wasn't this thing to be able to say, like, yeah, I think there are other intelligent people in the cosmos like you and I. And now it's like every other day, people are like, oh yeah, of course we do that. There's intelligent people like us somewhere. It's like that's like now you are made fun. Like you will be ignorant at the party if you're someone who says like, oh no, we're the only ones. People will be like, that's not. I mean, obviously we all do these things, but I think people want to have open-minded friends. And I think it's hard pressed to find a hardcore Christian. It's hard pressed to find a lot of different people who we would assume don't believe in extraterrestrials and intelligent beings existing elsewhere, and then we see that they do, right? Like, and that's what's interesting about so much of it. And so I think what's fun is once you get recruited right to the team, which is what I feel like all of us little podcasters are trying to do, recruit you onto the team. You see it roll out, man. Like, this is real. The bodies in the craft are real. All of us who are into it have seen it come time and again in different ways. Maybe it was an avenue that was shady. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe we didn't believe the source, but we believe that source. But it's all coming out slowly. And this is part of it. And so, I mean, like, yeah, this is the confirmation I need to know that we have the bodies and the documents confirmed by the government. But that's not going to be something for somebody that they need 20 years from now. Like, this is going to be another one and another one and another one. This is too damn shocking for people to just feel like, oh, aliens and da-da-da. And the newscasters are reporting it that way. They're like, well, good morning. There are aliens visiting. Who would have thought? Like, that's what these newscasts are. And people are like, I can't believe it. And the other newscaster's like, I can't believe it either. Wow, like, here we are.
I feel like
and
some of these people are
nobody's
like
responding.
robots. They're just like, we are programmed to think a certain way.
Well,
and
they're like, where's the smart human who knows what's going on? Who do I believe? Who do I believe? Right? Because they're in this moment of like, do what? The people I put in authority and trust are telling me this, right? And those of us who get into it, we've already created the authority and trust into certain research, into certain things that we've looked into, you know? And so the craft, I mean, it's great. It's great to hear it because there's a lot of people saying a lot of different things about it. But I truly believe this is going to be an interesting step into the future. But what consistently concerns me and is strange to me is how long it's going to take for this to actually, become part of our society, become part of our world culture. Like, this is us coming to be like, we're not the only ones to like. We're part of a whole group of life forms and so many other star families and so many other planets and so many other beings and entities that our little minds are going to explode. And so, it happens slowly. And I just think it's fascinating. And we live just in such an amazing time, you guys. But do I think it's going to happen in the next few months? I think, I feel like it just happened for me. I just got a double confirmation. I just got a triple, quadruple confirmation for my research from what I've looked at that the craft of the bodies are there. Somebody came out and said it. Nobody else in my life believes me, but I believe me. You guys believe me. All my alien friends believe me because it's real.
It is.
Yeah,
real.
it's real, and it's happening right now to us. To us.
I want to say this too. So TJP is over in
What
my
do you guys
chat.
think of what do you guys think of David Grusch's would he be the next person to lead the community?
No.
I think he's going to be.
You think so? I don't think he's really going to jump
is.
into it like that. I think he's going to, personally, I think he's going to stay where he is, say what he's going to say, and let us deal with it the way that we deal with it, ingest it, and everything. But I still kind of see Gary Nolan being the guy, honestly.
Gary Nolan.
That's me.
Gary Nolan, I like to see at the head of things, but Lou doesn't seem to be coming back, and
he's doing things in the background.
Yeah, he's doing things in the
His
background.
book is coming out though.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'll do the rounds and all that. But Grusch, if he could become involved in the UFO community, I think that would be super, super awesome. Because guys like Jay Stratton who come out, like, not many people are going to be able to get Jay Stratton on their podcast. Like, if we could get Grusch to be on the podcast and have his story told over and over, so that everybody, we don't even have to use mainstream media at that point. Just get him on all these podcasts. People go to podcasts for their news now.
Oh yeah,
yeah, they do.
Absolutely.
Like Alien Girl does a fantastic news style
every day.
Every day in the morning. I'd love to
That's
be a
not
guest.
easy to do.
Some morning I'd love to be a guest.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of these days when I'm not at work.
Oh, because it's later in the East Coast time. Yes, I would love it.
Where do you live?
Any day, Monday through Friday, you guys let me know. You guys know. I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm in New Mexico.
It's so beautiful. Such a beautiful area.
I would love to have you guys on my show. That would be
lucky.
awesome.
I would love to do it. It would have to be like a weekend for me, or Tuesday. I can't do Tuesdays.
They say they have high resolution footage of UFOs. Why not just show it? It's really getting frustrating.
This is what I wanted to mention. TJP's like, he's over in my chat, and he's like, well, why are they hiding it? Why are they still trying to hide it? What like just all those types of questions. And I told him a few of the reasons why they would be afraid to just come out and be like, declare. And he's still kind of just like, well, that's stupid. I think they should just do it. Hey, man, we all feel that way too. But there's a lot of moving parts here. There's guys that think this is demonic. They think that if certain steps are taken, that it's going to like put forth in motion, like, you know, the events of Revelation. Yeah, all these things. And again, I don't want to insult anybody that has those beliefs, but I personally don't believe that would be the result. Believe it or not, I think if they were to just come out and make that declaration, you would see it on all the news channels, but you wouldn't look out the window and see anything crazy.
No.
There'd be a lot of people who wouldn't figure out what was going on until hours later because they were too busy, you know, scrolling Pinterest. I mean, that's society's very distracted.
Even if a UFO was over Boston right now.
Oh, yeah. How many people would see it?
You know what I mean?
How
many people?
I wonder.
How many people across the country would actually even care?
Just like this. Be like, hey, man, there's a UFO up there. Wait, hold on. What? Like, you know, it'd be that type of situation. There'd be like a little delay, but that's why it's a good time. This is the perfect time in human history to put this information out because people are so much more lax and I hate to say it, but docile and distracted. But this is also a massive opportunity to potentially unite portions of the human race that maybe weren't united before. Of course, there's going to be some negative drawbacks to this. There could be some religious fanatics out there, a la the movie Contact, where, you know, do you want those scientists talking to your God for you? You know, that type of deal. But you know what? At the end of the day, we're not going to be able to prevent 100% of the negative things that we don't want in this life. So we just need to swing for the fences with this one. If our world is truly in danger, climate change and all these different things they say that threatens our species, if there is technology hidden in the desert somewhere that could potentially reverse any of that or improve the quality of life for millions upon millions of people with diseases, like, We need that. We needed it yesterday. Bob Lazar even said it. He's like, yeah, it's amazing. It's from other species. He's like, but I am more interested in the technology. For me, it's everything all across the board. But that technology is huge for our civilization. Like, I want to be able to think that I will have, great grandchildren that look back on this generation and say thank you to us for this.
Yeah.
It's a crime against humanity. Right now, there are children who are suffering that could benefit from this technology. If there's technology out there they could benefit from. It's ridiculous. If there's a little box that can produce all the energy I need for my home and my life, and the energy companies are keeping it away from me, and they don't want me to have any actual source of energy because they want to own me, and they want to own everything I have, and they want to enslave me. I love you were saying Stephen Bassett was saying the whole authoritarian thing. If this isn't, I love Stephen Bassett. I love that.
A couple times, and it was amazing.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine.
Really great, and
Yeah.
he's very passionate about this, but he's very right. That's the biggest thing, is that people really need to listen to that man, because he's been right about a lot.
Yeah, and
Smart guy.
our next couple of guests are going to be Mario Woods and who else? Donald Schmidt. Donald Schmidt.
That's right.
Donald Trump.
Think about that.
And then we have one guest we're still waiting on. He's been busy. He's been busy with some I don't know. He's just been busy. He's been busy and
he's been busy with some stuff.
He's been busy with some stuff, but maybe we'll have a moment of contact with him one day.
That'd be pretty cool.
So that'd be pretty
That'd
cool.
be cool.
Yeah. So that's just a little Easter egg for anyone who
Can't wait for Mario to come back, though, man.
I picked it up.
That was one of my favorite guests of ours. Mario Woods was such a great
fantastic.
guest.
He's actually going to be on with Chris Leto tomorrow at 4 p.m. So if anyone wants to watch that.
Love Chris Leto's YouTube channel.
So listen, we will be diving much more into this David Grusch story, but I want to hear final thoughts. So let's start with Alien Girl. What are your final thoughts on David Grusch as a character, and with what he's saying? Where do you think this process takes us?
Well, I think what he's saying, I think he's a legitimate man. He's got good stuff coming out. He seems very genuine in his demeanor, and he appears to be telling the truth from what he has. It does also seem that, although there has been discussion in the backdrop of him having evidence of photographs and things like that, at the forefront of like the media, we're not seeing anything specifically related to that. However, if we look at the history of ufology and we talk about all the times that we've seen the craft, if we go in, if we do the research, if we see that this is a reoccurring theme, if we just see what is going on, it is apparent that wherever he got this information, however he's delivering it, for what agenda, for whatever, the truth is, he's saying the right things. He's saying the things that are real, and he knows they are real, regardless of however that information is coming out, because it's just that time. It's time. They were ready to put somebody down, and they chose someone because this was approved by the DOD. They said, you go for it. They chose the person. They said, we trust you with this. You sit down, you talk with this. If you want to throw that bodies, the crap thing out there, go for it. This is what we're easing into now. And we like Ross, you go with Ross. We'll see what happens. So I think it's all nailed down. It's pat. And there's going to have to be more stuff like this. There's going to have to be more interviews like this, more people coming out, more headlines. It's the quantity of headlines that is going to convince people. It's people coming. It's just like any other movement. So encourage your friends, encourage your family. Don't make this a scary conversation. It doesn't have to be. This is something that's going to usher us into the next new great generation of us not thinking of ourselves as being on one little marble, but being connected to everything. And that is a new beautiful era.
Earthlings.
That is a new beautiful. Yes, that's a beautiful new era of Earthlings.
The dog, me, you, the squirrels, we're all Earthlings. We're all from,
right. At the end of the day,
we're all of Earth. And our petty factional differences hopefully will go away.
I hope so.
It's going to
man.
take years, but they'll go away eventually.
I really hope so.
And I hope everyone who listened today, I really hope that you'll take the time to subscribe. If you're watching on Cortex, subscribe to subscribe to Total Disclosure. And then if you're listening on Total Disclosure, watch on and subscribe on Cortex. Cortex Zero. He has some amazing content up. And as always, Alien Girl every day, Monday through Friday, with her Alien podcast.
Amazing.
Which is, maybe you could talk about that.
Yes, I go Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sometimes I might miss a day or two, but not so much. I'm pretty consistent. And we talk about everything UFO, UAP, extraterrestrials, aliens, NASA, space technology, robotics, artificial intelligence, government transparency, and free speech.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Right
yeah,
on.
Right up our
Love
alley.
that.
Right up our alley.
Yeah, no,
baby.
that's why we're here.
And Cortex, what are your final thoughts on this whole David Grusch thing?
Well, if this is true, this man is being honest, and that really is what is in the possession of some branch of military, some private aerospace company, our history books, science books are about to change. It is the biggest, and there is literally no hyperbole here. This is the biggest story in the history of the human species. There have been science fiction books, movies, comic books, everything you could think of that have spoken about this subject. And for it to come to fruition, for a human being on this planet to realize that they are not alone, but not just that, but that we're being visited, but not just that, that the technology is here and it's being examined. The possibilities of what can actually be achieved by our species widens in such a broad fashion. Like if they could just come out and tell us like, hey, these are what these things can actually do. It's going to look like magic. It's going to look like straight sorcery of the highest order. And this could be the very, very, very beginning, the tiniest step towards potentially having a connection with another civilization in our universe, which to me reminds me of that ending scene in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And it's a beautiful thing to think like maybe one day I could walk outside, walk down the street and meet up with someone that's from another planet and learn about their culture. Like do you have music? What do you eat? You know, like
or do you have you ever come here before? Do you have footage? Do you have footage of the Romans?
Historical events, right?
Yeah,
like that, exactly that type of thing.
All that stuff. Imagine we had HD footage of the Battle of Sparta.
Right.
Like what?
This would be the first chapter of cosmic history.
Yeah.
And imagine what we could learn from each other if we can do it
you
in the
the
name
other day,
of peace.
Tom, that I said we're picking up the torch from people like Stephen Bassett.
Of course, and
well,
and
we
everybody
are
that's
going,
come before.
I told you that day that we are going to be the disclosure UFO people, and that I can still say is it is truth going forward. And
It's beyond.
We're going to be the
non-human
people,
intelligence.
Yeah, for non-human intelligences.
It's beyond it though. It's
we're
life
be
after
at the
death.
forefront.
It's so much, though. It makes you think about so many other things. It's massive, Ty and Alien Girl. It's huge. It's where did we come from? Why was I born? Why am I here on this planet?
What's
what
our
is reality?
purpose?
It's everything. Like
And
we
by
all woke
solving-
up one day, right? We all became kind of like conscious one day. I don't know how old we were. We've always been conscious, but like think about your earliest memory, right? And it's like, damn, I can't remember anything further back than that. I don't remember being 2, you know, that type of thing. Like, don't you ever just sit back and just be like, what is all this? Like, why am I here? Why does anything look the way it does? Why does it function the way it does? Why does it seem, honestly, like the universe has this beautiful symmetry and this mechanical
but also
structure
destruction.
To it? And like, why do those things have to be
There's
there?
a yin and a yang to this planet.
There is.
That is just, and I told you before, we were given paradise.
This is it. This is paradise, and we need to really start taking care
and we
of
need
it.
to take care of it so we can live here, but also travel the cosmos. And with that being said, I'm going to remove my guest for my final. So this is something I'm gonna start doing. I'm gonna do like a final outro thing. Listen, I think this David Grusch thing is huge. I think this is what is going to lead to the process of a capital D disclosure. I know my co-host thinks that as well, and I think there's so much more to this story that after tomorrow the 1 hour, I hope Ross gets out that 7 hours quick, because the more David Grusch we can get, the better. At this point, the more stuff we can get out there, the more clips we can get out there, send them viral through TikTok. Get them out there, the better. So share this with your local constituent, whoever that may be. Share this with your local news station. Let's get the message out there that this stuff is real. Like, this is real stuff. As always, guys, the documentary has just been finished being written. The Make Contact TV is almost a go. You can also now visit www.totaldisclosure.org, and all the episodes and stuff are integrated into the website. We're going to have articles that are going to be published soon. So we're looking for unpaid, by the way, unpaid writers who want to contribute. So if that sounds like you, reach out. My email is in the description below. And truly, we love you. Thanks for listening tonight. And more on this David Grusch things as it develops.